Hello and welcome to the Catch a Lift Coaches Corner. I'm Cal head coach Melissa, and this week I'm honored to welcome U.S. Marine Corps veteran and Cal coach Sarah Rudder to the show. Sarah is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, Cal veteran athlete, Cal lead CrossFit trainer, and now one of the fittest adaptive women on earth on the lower extremity division in the 2021 No Bull CrossFit Games. Welcome to this week's episode of Coaches Corner. Sarah,
Thank
welcome.
you.
That's getting to be quite a mouthful.
Yes,
I like it.
it is. I have to remind myself still today.
Oh my gosh, absolutely incredible. Well, exactly. Right off the top, Sarah, congratulations on your incredible performance at the CrossFit Games. We're going to get into all that, really break down the games and your experience there. But for anybody that doesn't really know you, Sarah, let's start out by just having you give us a little bit of your service background and then kind of ultimately what would lead you into CrossFit.
So I joined the Marine Corps at 17. I was injured twice before I was discharged at 19. Once being, I had a minor injury after training, which was an ankle injury, and I was almost recovered from that. And then in August 2001, I was involved in an auto accident where I broke my nose, my rib, my scapula, and I have a brain injury now. And then September 11th, 2001, I was at the Pentagon as a first and last responder, further injuring my leg, leading to amputation in 2014. And that's when I found CrossFit for the first time. It was what got me to start healing pretty much. And I went from there.
That's incredible. So thank you for sharing that with us, Sarah. And definitely for anybody listening, if you go back and, look through our previous episodes, we've had Sarah on a couple other times and we talk a little bit more in depth about her history. So definitely check out those episodes. But today we're really focusing on the games. So Sarah, the last time we had you on after your dominating performance in the Open. And at that time, we did not know that the games were a possibility for adaptive athletes. Would you talk to us a little bit about how that came to be and what it felt like actually getting that invitation?
For me, going into it, I thought at that time that they were going to include us.
Right.
And it wasn't until people started getting their letters saying that they've made it, and all the adaptive athletes had not been contacted. So we thought our journey was the end at that point.
Right.
So I was also signed up for, which is in November, Wheel WOD, and they were going to be the first competition for fully adaptive CrossFit athletes.
Right.
And after I found out I had made that, it was probably just a week or two after that I had gotten a letter saying that I had qualified for the CrossFit Games. And it was to my surprise that they included us. And
right.
I couldn't have been more ecstatic because this was the first time they ever included adaptive athletes. We're not easy to program for. We're not easy to cater to sometimes.
Right.
And there's a lot of understanding that needs to go along with those injuries. So for their first year, I think that they did extremely well for the amount of time that they had in planning and how they would plan, considering we were only added last minute because the adaptive community just made this huge outpour, like, what about us? And and me included, I was kind of disheartened with CrossFit at that point.
Right.
That they weren't going to include us after we went through all these hard workouts. And once I got the letter, I was so ecstatic, but I was happy and then nervous and pretty confused all at the same time, I would say. One, because it was going to be, I made it and I couldn't believe it. I signed up on a whim just by someone saying, why haven't you done this? And I had no answer for that.
Yeah.
So for me making it, it was an awesome experience, and knowing that I had to start training a lot harder and catering my training a lot more towards longer competition days.
Right.
So them including us was an amazing stepping stone for the adaptive community. And I think that they're definitely learning from this event on how to categorize certain individuals a little bit better, and listening to the athletes on how to cater to them and their injuries.
Yeah. That's terrific. That's wonderful to hear too, Sarah. So let's, back up right leading into your times going into the games. Will you touch on a little bit for us? How did you prepare physically and mentally for this competition?
Mentally, I was a wreck, to be honest, because, I was going through my head over and over again, like, I can't do this. There's no way I could put myself out there and do this.
Yeah.
And yes, I had done the Invictus Games before, but that was a military crowd.
Right.
And so they were automatically knew and understand each other in that aspect. So it was my first time going into a large civilian crowd, and I don't do well in large crowds, especially with people that don't understand. And for me, I was definitely a nervous wreck. Physically, I trained at least 2-3 times a day, focusing on my weaknesses. And after the games, I've learned that I have more, which I'll be working on, but we'll get to that.
Okay. So we all got them.
Right. And they were smacking me in the face all day long. So I know it's like screaming, this is what you need to do. But again, TBI. So what were we saying?
The physical preparation that you did leading up to the games.
So 2 to 3 times a day. And then that actually helped balance the mental side, because the longer I was training and focusing on my training and what I was eating and how I was recovering, helped me get through those doubtful times.
Right. So let's jump up a little further in this timeline, Sarah, getting down to Madison, and let's kind of start. I want to just walk through really your whole games experience. Let's start with that first day with your registration, and talk to us about what it was like for you when you walked through those back doors and you headed into that Noble athlete dressing room. What was that experience like? Talk to us about what that all was.
For me, I would say it was just an amazing experience, because I was walking in, I was just expecting them to, hand us a bag and move along to the next booth, but they really made us feel included. Noble went way out, and they really took care of every single athlete. And they made sure that we had our individual needs met as well. Like, I can't wear tights, but we had several options of shorts. So it worked out for me. And luckily, prior CrossFit, I had already been wearing Nobles. So it's the only shoe that I found that I can actually train in. So it was a bonus that I was able to wear their product. But it felt like I was in a place that I didn't belong almost, because I worked so hard, and yes, I got there, but I still didn't feel like I was part of it, or I belonged.
Yeah.
And I still had so much more to prove. So, but for me, that experience was like a slap in the face. Like, you're here.
Yeah.
Soak it all in and do what you can, get your head down, and you've come this far. Let's go. And the highlight of that experience, though, was that I also got to share it with my coach, Melissa, and she was right there beside me during this whole thing. And just having you there and like so pumped for me, it made me realize that I need to accept this.
Yeah.
So it was it was really a dream come true for me, getting to that point, a point that I never thought I could ever reach.
So, like you said, I had the great honor to go down there and serve as your coach during your CrossFit games, which it was an incredible experience for me for a lot of reasons. But one of my goals going into it was to make sure that you felt that accomplishment. You really felt all the work that ultimately you had put in these past 20 years since being injured, that day on 9/11. And it's like, just take this in. So it was incredible. It was an incredible experience all around. Sarah, let's get right into that day one, because they hit you guys hard coming right out of the gate. So the very first event was a 6,000 meter ski erg for time. Talk to us a little bit about that event, especially in light of having touched a ski erg like once or twice ever prior.
So I reached out to Cal, and not expecting anything, but I was like, I think there might be ski erg. I said, have you ever tried that before? I want to know what it's like. And within a few days, I had a ski erg at my front door, which I just couldn't, I was speechless. So the day before I left, I got the ski erg and I did about 1,000 meters on it, and that was it. So as soon as they told me 6,000 meters on a ski erg, I was like, can you repeat that, please? Because that wasn't sinking in.
That's a ways, yeah.
Right. So for me, not ever touching it was definitely a challenge. But I think the more challenge for me going into it was, I had a PTSD episode before getting out there. And what set me off is, there's like a tunnel almost, and they kind of corral all the athletes into this tunnel, and I wasn't expecting it. So I was just standing expecting, like, hey, let's start walking. But it was just like this huge crowd coming in, and then I just couldn't focus. I lost my breath. I started seeing images, all that. And one of the other athletes had noticed what was happening to me. And so I finally, came to where I realized this person is here to help me. And she guided me outside, and she just helped me focus on my breathing. And it was another athlete, Amy, who was competing against me, but took out the time to sit there and help me breathe just so I could get out there and do this event. And for me, it was amazing to be able to have that support by someone who's competing against you.
It's incredible.
So it was more of, I had so much respect for every single one of those athletes because they touched me individually at different times throughout that event. Because eventually I had told them I cannot be in this tunnel. I need to be off by myself, and I'll make sure that I'm in my place where I'm supposed to be. And just focused on my breathing and kept my head down, walking out to the event, knowing that when that buzzer went off, that I was so focused on what I was doing, everything around me just went blank. And so for me, walking out to that first event, I was bawling and trying to catch my breath, and then getting on a machine that I had never done before. It was probably that and my swim, my worst events.
Oh, the swim. Yeah, we'll get to that. But you all battled hard. Anyone who's ever used a ski erg, 6,000 meters is no small task on it. So that's how the day started, was smacking that ski erg. And you guys would move on. You would compete 3 different times on day one. The second event would be 5 rounds for time. You had a 15-foot rope climb, and you would deadlift 5 reps for 205 pounds. Would you touch on that event for us a bit, Sarah?
So after climbing the rope a few times, as I was coming down, I literally ripped open both palms and my legs. and I was bleeding on my second round. So my first round, I got to the bar, which definitely felt heavier than that, even though my PR is past that. But I had, it's a long day, and you kind of have to segregate your movements and where you want to put all your effort. But lifting that bar for the first time, I was okay. And then second time I came down that rope is when I ripped everything. And I could not get a proper grip on that bar at all. So I was literally using like the claws of my hands to pick up the bar and hold on, because that was the only way I was going to get through it.
Yeah.
So that was extremely difficult. I thought I was going to get a lot further, but being in line with all the other amputees, or someone with the leg brace that had similar injuries, was reassuring to me, because I knew that we all had to push ourselves the exact same way, and we're all at the exact same level because of our injury. So I knew that when we were blown past on that first person blew past us, that it was discouraging for me at first, but then realizing that the other people with the similar injury, we were all struggling together. So that got me through it.
So the day wasn't over yet. You would compete a third time on day one, and this time, this would be your first event that you would actually be in the Coliseum, a Coliseum crowd. And that third event that day was finding a 1-rep max on snatch. Sarah, talk to us about the experience of competing in the Coliseum that day, the energy, just what was it like?
It was, so that first time in Coliseum, it was a really great experience. I mean, it wasn't full, which was great for me. But the lights and, the family members that had come to watch their athletes, or the coach was there cheering everyone on. So it was, that got us really hyped up. And then all the adaptive athletes were out on the floor at the same time. So, and then for me, having a judge that understood what I needed was very important, because I have the brain injury. Numbers and things don't come to me very quickly. So I would constantly tell him, I want my bar loaded at this to start. I want to go to this weight. So he would tell me, grab the green plate or grab the red plate, and then we'd load it together, and I'd go from there. And I ended up PRing. So that was a great experience.
That was so awesome. Oh my gosh.
I was definitely not expecting to get that up, but once I match my PR weight, I was like, I got more left. I know I do. So I just went for it.
Tremendous. Let's keep going on our, the event recap. So 3 events on that first day. You'd go into day 2. You had 2 events this day. Starting out the morning, and you don't have to hit on all of these, but I'm just going to read through what the event was. So event 1 on day 2 was a 50 cal bike erg, 21 toes to bar, 21 dumbbell squats. There was an 84-foot handstand walk. There was a 70-pound sandbag squat, followed by another 84-foot handstand walk. Sarah, would you touch on that event for us?
I would say that was my most frustrating event, only because gymnastics for me is something that I really enjoy doing and focus on. And on asphalt, I can handstand walk all day. But we were on hot, spongy AstroTurf, and I literally could not go in a straight line at all to save my life. So that event was very frustrating, because I should have had that, and I let it get in my head that the difference of, what's under my palms made, all the difference for me. But we did a lot of backflips, so that was fun.
You all, oh my gosh, went so incredibly hard. And I just want to bring this up so people understand too that didn't have a chance to, obviously either be there live or watch any of the events streamed. This was an incredibly physical event. You know, people were hitting the ground, going, with those handstand walks. It was incredibly physical. Something else I want to point out about this event: it was a time cap event, and I erased it. I feel like it was either like 11 or 14 minutes. What I witnessed, and one of the main things I took away, and this was regardless of the event, but I'll highlight this one in particular: nobody quit. Nobody quit before that buzzer. And again, literally like bodies flying to the ground, right? Nobody quit. You never quit. You never quit with a second left on that clock, Sarah. It was tremendous to watch. So after that fun, we moved into what was your favorite event. So event 2 of day 2 was a 300-meter open water swim in the beautiful Lake Monona in Wisconsin. Talk to us about the lake swim, Sarah.
I don't know.
I use swim loosely, so I'll let you.
Yes. So I wouldn't really call it a lake at that point. Where we were at, it was more like a swamp. I would say the mud and seagrass was literally past my hip. So for me, that was another frustrating one, only because, and that's, again, it could have been to me not remembering correctly, or I have no idea. But from my understanding, it was your time will start as soon as you pass a certain mark in the water, and then it ends as soon as you reach that certain mark back. And as you reach back, you just wave your hand and they know who you are, and
Right.
they will write your time down. So because I only swim with one leg, I let all the ones that had their legs or were able to go first, and then I was
Right.
going to go behind them. So that's what I did. I waited till they got in, and then I got in and realized that it was more of like a swamp run kind of thing. Like,
Swamp run.
yeah, for
Yeah.
the first 150 meters.
Yep.
And on one leg, we can't run in the swamp. So literally we're just pushing through all the seaweed as much as we could. And then all of a sudden it just drops off to where it's super deep. And that's when, for me, I started to panic, because I was like, I was not expecting it.
Yeah.
So, and then as to swim, I put my head in the water. It's completely black. So I couldn't tell between under and over. And then 2 other factors hit me with that. And it was, they had the next category start right behind us. So literally, they swam over the top of us. And once that happened, my leg got caught up in the seaweed, and I am only one. And so I'm there waving for a boat.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, "Get on your back." And I was like, "I can't get on my back." And then this boat comes in, and I put my stump up on his boat, and the look he gave me, and I wish
I could have seen that. I wish I could have seen that. Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm bringing you in." I'm like, "Dude, I'm good. This is old." I'm like, just let me untangle myself. And I don't know where I would have placed that would have happened, but for me, it was, the most important thing is I had to finish, because I needed the points.
Yes.
So I unwrapped my leg and just finished where I was. And then it was over. And once it was over, I literally had half the lake in my swimsuit.
For real.
So
yeah.
That was great. But
yeah, and then you all headed to the hoses and hosed for a while.
Yes.
Yeah. So the plus here, after you got over, or once you finished that open water swim, as you told me, well, I don't have to worry about drowning anymore. Like, I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
So, everything kind of goes up past the swim. So, all right. So we're through 2 days now. You've completed 5 events. Let's move into that day 3, final day. You guys would start out with a chipper. And I'm going to read through what that event would be. So that this next event, it was 3 rounds, 15 chest to bar pull-ups, 35 calories on the ski erg, 100 double unders. From there, it would turn into as a descending period. So you'd go, if you completed that, you'd move on to 12 chest to bars, 30 ski ergs, and down like that. Sarah, talk to us about this event on day 3. Open it up.
So I kind of was nervous about this one. Chest to bars, totally comfortable in, but double unders for me have always been hard because of trying to get my timing down and
Right.
having to jump so high and then the pounding on the leg. I was able to string like maybe 5, 6, and then and that was again on asphalt. But we know that the crazy thinking of Castro was, no, everyone could do this on asphalt. Let's do it on the grass. So it completely slowed the time down, which all of us with the amputations and the brace couldn't get the timing right because it slowed down the rope so much, and we were having to jump so much higher. So for us, literally, we all started doing one at a time.
Yeah.
100 of them, one at a time. And for me I didn't think I was going to get it past it. So it was awesome that I got past the 100 and then I got back onto the chest bar, which I was not expecting at all. So I was good with that.
It was terrific. And again, this was all of the events, you guys all put it out there, but this one, again, it was such a brutal workout, and to see everybody again grind out those double unders, absolutely incredible. So your very last event of the competition, you would head back again into that Coliseum, and so this event was,
and we started with the push press. It felt really heavy to me, and if you go back and look at the video, there's actually 45s on the bar, which does not equate to 115. So there's a little wonder about that one.
There's a little wonder about it. Yep. Bit of mystery.
So that one was technically, what was it, 125 on the bar? Yeah. 125. So that was my PR for that. And so that was good too. And then my judge, for some reason, kept no repping me in my handstand push-ups and couldn't figure out why.
Those were tough to watch because, from like where we were sitting, I'm like, oh my gosh.
I was like,
they looked like good reps. It was rough. Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to start freestanding these handstand push-ups because I don't know what this lady wants.
Oh, man.
But once, Ogar came over and was looking, he's like, no, that's a rep. And she's like, oh, and then finally started counting correctly. But being upside down and then coming forward, just picking up the bar for the first time, I fell my first time, but I got it right, and then I was able to go. But they were definitely heavy, and it was an amazing feeling to be in there and hear everyone to like scream push like further and further. And one of the girls that was past her PR weight, and this was Amy, was terrified. Like she didn't even want to touch the bar or anything. And she got up there and she was able to get the bar up, and I heard the crowd going, and then she push pressed it, and I heard her coach screaming, and I remember just looking at her thinking, like, that is the greatest, like, inspiration for me ever.
Yeah.
So once I saw that happen, I pushed myself even more, and I just started going and trying to get as much as I could. And I think we all pushed each other on that one. And it was...
Yeah, you all definitely did. You were feeding off the crowd. You were feeding off of each other.
It was amazing. That was definitely... Me, was like, you're in the Coliseum this time. So it was a good experience.
Yeah, that was, even to watch and just the energy of everybody, that was probably my favorite event to like kind of be a part of. It was electric in there, that final event.
Yes.
It was just
Yes.
radiating off of the crowd, off of the athletes. It was so very cool.
It was good to hear.
It
Like every
was.
time you pushed and you finally got it after, cleaning it like 5 million times, you finally are able to push it the one time and you can hear everyone scream. You're like, oh, that was for me. And it's just like, definitely not used to that because I work out by myself every day, but it was definitely awesome.
So Sarah, you kind of already hit on it a little bit and we've mentioned it at different points here, but would you talk to us about what it was like competing against these other incredible women from all over the world and just kind of the bond that you were all even able to kind of form as a result of this competition?
It was an honor being able to compete with them because I know how hard they pushed themselves to get there because I had to do the exact same thing. And knowing that they got this far was kind of intimidating, like, oh no, I'm against these other strong women that are evenly matched, and I wasn't expecting to be there. So once the wall broke down and everyone realized, like, we're there for ourselves, we're there to prove to ourselves that we could do this, because we were told so many times that, how are you going to do this? You have one leg. Or how are you going to do that? And this is how I'm going to do it. And just going out there and being able to show that just because you have an injury, it doesn't mean you can't live life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all these women were just as strong, having to adapt in their lives, just like I have, in their own ways. And being on the floor with them was an honor because we cheered each other on the entire time. Like, if I was struggling, you would hear, get up there, get one more. And if they were struggling, I was like, you better jump.
Yeah.
So it was like we were egging each other on to make sure that we were getting through this together, regardless of where we were.
Yep.
We knew that we were going to get through it together. And for me, I probably could not have gotten through the event without them there, with each of them, because I had passed out a few times, and just having them there. And then, because unfortunately you couldn't be with me as an athlete by my side. And so I had to rely on these women to help get me through. And they did such an amazing job that I definitely owe my third place to them.
Let's talk about that third place, Sarah. What was it like for you placing third in the world for women's adaptive lower extremity?
I honestly did not think that I placed at all, because after the event, I passed out. And I was in a room with the doctors and nurses, and waking up to ice in every orifice of my body. I still didn't know, that I had made it. And so after coming to and finally and going out, and I'm like, I'm Sarah Rudder, I'm here to pick up my ID. And she's like, oh, well, you've made it to the podium. And I was like, I what?
That's
She's
how
like,
you found out. That's funny.
So that is definitely how I found out, by me just saying, I'm done. Where's my ID?
Yeah.
And then also to find out that I want to give her credit to my friend Beth. She tied with me, and they didn't acknowledge that tie to begin with, because they went off my heaviest lift, but that wasn't in the rule books. Okay. And she equally, we had the amount of points. So I am honored to be able to share that with her, because she worked so hard, and I just want to make sure that she has the credit that she deserves.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for telling us about that too, Sarah. So one of the other really cool things that happened, it happened right before you got down to the games, but you were able to officially compete as a member of Catch a Lift CrossFit. What did that mean to you?
Yes. For me, it was an experience that I won't forget, because I was able to represent not only Catch a Lift Fund, but the Catch a Lift Fund new affiliation that brought us into the whole CrossFit world, that opened up a new door for all our people. And for me to go out there and say, this is what our Cal athletes are capable of, it was an honor to me, because now, you know, I have more athletes stepping forward saying, well, I want to try. How do you do this? And I want more of that. I want more of them to step forward and show how strong they are, and knowing that they could get through these workouts. Yeah, they might make it, they might not make it, but the thing is that they did it. And that's all that matters.
Sarah, you touched on it at the beginning. What can we expect to kind of see next from you competing wise? Do you want to double back on the wheel wad competition coming up, and just what's next for you?
So I will be doing the wheel wad competition in November, and that's in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay.
And while
this was a qualifying event too. This is what you qualified to compete at also.
Yes. So this was a qualifying event, and it's put on by Wheel Wad. And for those who do know the CrossFit world, there was this athlete who was full able-bodied, and he was in a CrossFit competition, and there was a tragic accident where the barbell had bounced, and he ended up being paralyzed from the waist down. And he never gave up on CrossFit. He started thinking outside the box of how am I going to be able to still do what I want to do?
Right.
And that is like the same mentality that goes through my mind, is like, well, how am I going to make this work for me? And so now he's programming for athletes in his same condition. And so he has a partnership, and they created this adaptive CrossFit competition, and it's solely for adaptive athletes only. And they're broken down to the T of where you are supposed to be. Right. So you know that when you're competing, that person right next to you has the exact same level of disability as you do.
Yep.
It's not a disability that is fixable with some surgeries or things like that, or, you know, but it's definitely going to be catered to the athlete and their disabilities, which is great.
That's tremendous. Absolutely thrilled that you're doing that competition in November, and cannot wait to hear about it, you know, and get a recap of that too. The last question I want to ask you today, Sarah, you know, so we touched on it. Catch a Lift has the CrossFit affiliate now. You know, you've been training athletes for a long time, CrossFit in Catch a Lift, but you know, today, 20 years after 9/11, we've made the games, third fittest in the world. What does it mean to you to be a CrossFit trainer and train your brothers and sisters at Catch a Lift in CrossFit?
I would say that it's become my purpose. It's more of how I found my way and what worked for me, and how well it had worked for me. It was like a secret that I didn't want to keep anymore. It was constantly like, well, come join me. Like, you could do this. And as more athletes and more vets came to and realized that the fitness aspect in their life is so needed in order to deal with the mental that we deal with during the day. So it might not make us 100%, but we could go out there and we could try to deal with what we have going on inside in a healthy way. We don't have to reach for a bottle or pills. We're going out there and we're picking up weights, and we're sweating through our pain or our weakness or whatever we're feeling that day. But it became my purpose, because being injured on 9/11 and then not being able to be deployed with my sisters and brothers, left me with so much anger in my heart that it was definitely something that was so hard for me to deal with. But as they came back, and I've been given this chance to be a part of their lives and help them heal. I might not have been able to deploy with them, but I can help them here at home, where it's most important now.
Yes.
And to me, being able to have that purpose and help them is what saved me, to be honest. I mean, they save me every day.
Oh man, Sarah, thank you so very much for coming on today, sharing your light with us like you always do. Man, I honestly, I feel a little bit pumped up right now, and I want to go lift.
Yes.
This is. But thank you so very much, and congratulations to you from our entire Catch a Lift family. We are so incredibly proud of you and happy for you, and we cannot wait to see all the great things to come for Sarah Rudder, and in a more broader sense, Catch a Lift, CrossFit, and all of our incredible men and women in our organization. So that's it for this week's episode of Coach's Corner. We will return next Wednesday at 1 Eastern Time with another episode. Thank you again, Sarah, for sharing your light with us today. Thank you to ID Technology and ClearBridge for all your support of Catch a Lift. Thank you to Lynn Coughlin, Henry Pomper, and Kaylee Nasiri for your work to make this podcast possible week after week. And thank you to the entire Catch a Lift team. Don't forget, every week you have a chance to win Cal Swag by joining our live podcast chat Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Until next week, keep it real and stay Cal Strong.
Cal Strong.